right now, Kingy is here, the best analyst in football, has had a busy off-season. He's been travelling around, going to training. Kingy, good morning to you again, and where do you want to start?
Cornesy, I do love going to training, and a lot of people say you don't get much out of it, and that can be true if you luck out and just get a skills-based type session. But what I have noticed, and I heard your conversation with Sammy Edmund the other morning about the injury rates at AFL clubs and where that leaves you. And I think the one thing that we've overlooked is how early the season is now starting. So I tracked back and just had a look. So before we get to individual clubs and what their woes are, if you go back over the last few years, so the round one game, so round zero, opening round, whatever you want to call it, is March 6th this year. So let's just have a look at the last few years to see where we've lost our days. Because now they're straight into full contact, almost match sim from week one that they're arriving back at the club. Most clubs have started week 2. So last year was March 7. The year before that, first game, March 16. 2022 was also March 16. March 18 in 21, March 19 in 20, March 22 in 2018, March 23 in 2017, March 24 in 2016. So we've lost nearly 3 weeks. It's pulled forward. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're touching base with the club again and getting back into the hurly-burly of full contact and the full group and full competition with everything you do, to lose that 3-week component is a lot, Cornesy. So these players have been asked to do a lot in a short space of time at 100% rat power. So I think that's been lost a little bit, how early we're starting.
Yeah, and then, so to get ready for March 6, you've got to play a couple of games at full intensity. So that brings it forward again to the point where we're looking at, I think it's sort of Feb 15, where clubs are starting to have their first hit-outs before their only official sanctioned pre-season game and then into it, so I just don't think they've been given enough time. And we discussed this yesterday with Andrew Russell, former high performance manager at Port Adelaide, Hawthorn and Carlton. He said we just don't have enough time to get these players ready, yet we send them away with individual programs and we're confident they complete those, but not to the intensity that is needed to be ready to go. So I think clubs are hamstrung a little bit, and it definitely appears that injuries have skyrocketed, and nasty ones too. Like, I know you have a bit of fun with your love for George Wardlaw, but that's really concerning now for George. Like, that's a 10 to 12 weeker. When does he come back? Is it mid-season? I don't know. And how do they manage him from here after repeated soft tissue stuff? Ridley, repeated soft tissue. I mean, there's a number of them. So I think something needs to be done from AFL Players Association level, just to give clubs more access to their players rather than sending them off on 20 weeks holiday a year.
I'm going the other way.
Oh, yeah. You want more time off?
No, well, the time off discussion is an interesting one, and I think that it's skewed a little bit. You do have to set players up for life after football. You do have to give them time off in season, certain days a week, so they can study or build a life that's, if their career finishes abruptly and they only last 2, 3, 4 years, that they can step into the real world and they're ready to go.
How many are using the off season for development? Not many. Most of them are using it for a vacation, a holiday. There's not many that are going, I'm going to take my 12 weeks off at the end of August when my season finishes, and I'm going to get some study in, or I'm going to go work for a couple of weeks. Not many. There may be the few, and there would be.
That's more the in-season component. But the out-of-season, I mean, you do need to give your body a rest, and mentally they are spent at the end of the season. So I understand what you're saying, and I think there is a professionalism component to it. But most players, I reckon 95% of players come back in condition that we haven't seen before. I mean, they're at unbelievable levels. There's not too many that are out of nick and can't start doing full training day one when they get back. So I probably disagree with you a little bit. I've been to a few clubs, and
it won't be the last time we disagree this year, by the way.
I wouldn't have thought so. No, I wouldn't have thought so. Wait till we do the seedings and you'll find out. I went and watched things that happen differently, Cornesy, at footy clubs, and sometimes you can go to clubs and not get much out of it, not get much out of the people or the coaches or the players or anything like that, and often you can go there and you can just get the lot. So you go to Hawthorn, you bump into Sam Mitchell, he chats to you for 10 minutes. Doesn't have to do that. You go to Melbourne, Alan Richardson, and then Christian Petrarca comes and says g'day, and you get a chance to chat with him for 5 minutes. And of all the things that I've probably done over the last month or so regarding getting around to training and having a look, spending 5 minutes with Christian and actually hearing him say, and I hope I'm not doing him a disservice here, but words to the effect of, you know what, if I had to go through personally what I went through last year with the feedback of, oh, you're putting yourself first, oh, you know, brand Petrarca, all this sort of stuff, to flush out a greater connection and a greater bond for this group and to put everything on the table that needs to be worked on, well, you know what, I'm happy with that. I'm prepared to have done that. And you can see a difference at Melbourne. They're just little things. They're footy things that some people just dismiss. But you can see that there's a celebration every time something happens. You can see that there's an empathy for the guy next to him. I don't know if that was there next year. I think that last year. Sorry, they were all there trying to do the very, very best they could for themselves, but not necessarily the group. And we had that discussion last year. Is it about winning a Brownlow or winning another premiership? So I think Melbourne are a fascination for me. I don't know whether they're top four or they're bottom six, the same as the Dogs with you. But they could be seriously good or just lost in the pack. I don't
Somewhere
know.
from 1 to 12. Melbourne probably. We are fascinated by Clayton Oliver. I questioned last year whether he could ever get back to his absolute best. Now, I know you put a note down on social media saying maybe that the skill level wasn't to the level, but who really cares about that right now? How did he look? Did he have the power, the ball winning, and his ability to cover the ground? Was that back in your eyes?
Yeah, he's never been great at covering the ground. So I think when these players go through troughs like they do, we find all the vision that highlights where they're poor. But let's be honest, that's never really been an asset of his. His power's back. That's the one thing that you notice. He stepped through traffic. He's a tackle breaker. He's got that back. He did a rundown chase the other day that I had that lifted the group. There's little things at training, and I know we're not going to read too much into them, but I haven't seen him do that for a while. So they're now sort of challenging him to do more and be more for the group. There's a couple of other players I want to mention. They got this Harvey Langford, who was their high pick last year. He might have been pick 5 or 6. He is a big-bodied midfielder. He's going to be a beauty.
Right.
He did some things at training where you think, oh, this is the modern midfielder.
Yeah.
He looks. Not saying he is Tom Green, but that style of mid where he's a big frame, in traffic, steps out, breaks tackles. They had Lindsay, who they're really impressed with, more of a runner, more of an outside player. And they got a couple of guys don't mind throwing their bulk around. Aiden Johnson, who's just a young kid, late selection. A real smoky, I reckon, for round one. A real smoky to get an opportunity early as, I don't know, maybe a backup ruckman, third tall forward type. But now, there's a lot to like about the D's.
They're going to move the ball, like go slow Goodwin. Is he going to go fast or
go slow Goodwin?
After the review that they had, which has become public, that they needed to actually play some enticing footy, and Stephen May's spoken about that and others. Are they moving the ball, Kingy? Are they going to score?
Well, I think there's a lot more handball in Melbourne's training this year than I've seen before, and they're trying to create some speed. And when it's on offer to take it, you'll see some changes, some positional changes. And I just think that the one guy that may be the biggest beneficiary this year of not having to play any ruck minutes might be Van Rooyen. Just put him at full forward.
Yep.
I think he kicked 30-odd goals last year. I'd be surprised if he's not 30% better in terms of his returns on the scoreboard. He looks terrific, and he's only young. Cornes, I feel like we've assessed this guy every 3 weeks in his first 2-3 seasons of footy.
Yeah, that's what I do like about Melbourne's list. There's a core group of sort of the 24, 23-year-olds coming through together, which should be the future of this footy club. All right, that's the D's, 0433 98 11 16. What else caught your eye?
The Dogs. It's an interesting off-season for the Dogs, and they've had their challenges. And I know we texted a couple of times through the off-season period, and the Jamara discussion was all the rage and has been all the rage, and rightly so. But look at those that aren't on track or haven't done a stack or 80% of the work, and you're back to the big names again. Unfortunately, it's Norton and it's Treloar and these guys that you're starting to think, okay, are they going to be ready to go round one? And there's going to be some vulnerability early, I think, in the Dogs season. And that's been the case across the journey, really. But this is more through injury than anything else, whether it be selection or just absolute form. I think they got the Kangaroos in round 1, so most people would say, "Oh, that's just a
Yeah,
tick."
I'm not sure about that.
But it's almost be like a grand final for the
Yeah,
Kangas to
yeah.
get off to the season. Well, there's a couple of players. I don't even know if he's in their best lineup, but Jordan Croft, to me, looks like he's son of a gun. Obviously, a high pick a couple of years ago. Taller, he could play anywhere.
Yeah, wing half back type.
He's a runner,
yeah.
but he's just a smooth mover.
200 centimetres, huge.
Is he 200?
Yeah,
is he?
yeah, he is.
I didn't know he was
Yeah.
200. He's been playing wing. He looks really good. I know they're all talking about Davison probably coming on. Sanders looks terrific. He just looks like that body's sort of getting more and more fine as
But
you go.
I sense just what you're picking up, what I'm picking up from you this morning, and you don't want to be too negative after seeing them train a couple of times, but there's some nerves. It doesn't appear to me that you are as confident in their pre-season work as what you are with some of the other clubs, which we'll touch on.
Well, I just think they're going to be vulnerable early in the season. You know, Sam Darcy's going to be a sensation.
Yeah.
We all know that. I think we know the Dogs. I want to talk about the Dogs specifically on another angle later on, but yeah, we sort of know the Dogs, but I just think they're going to be incredibly vulnerable in the first 2 to 3 weeks of.
I might start just because you mentioned the Western Bulldogs and probably the health of some of their key players, and the fact that a few of them, Aaron Norton and Ugle-Hagan and Treloar and the like, haven't done the majority of the pre-season. How do they play it with my man Bevo, Kingy? Because last time he was coming out of contract, they extended him in December, 15th of December 2022. So he had 2023. They contracted him for a further 2 years, 24, 25. So that's coming to an end. He's out of contract at the end of this year, and we're the 31st of January, and there's no contract extension. In their first 5 games, they play North, Collingwood, Carlton, Fremantle away, Brisbane. I'd be surprised if Jamari Ugle-Hagan plays in any of those games. There's some concern over Tim English. You've mentioned Aaron Norton and Treloar. Is it just a wait and see? Is it halfway point? Is it end of the year for Luke Beveridge? And if you were advising them, and they don't have a footy boss, Sam Power's the interim footy boss at the moment, Matty Egan obviously in a different newly created role, how would you be handling it?
Well, you and I are North and South Pole on
That's
Bevo.
why I'm asking.
Yeah, so I'm a Bevo fan. Right? And I think regardless of whether he's at the Dogs at the end of this year or not, he will be at another club.
I don't disagree with that. But
I think he's a master coach. The Dogs have got an awkward situation where I think...
Hang on, a master coach?
Yeah. Yep. You don't agree?
No.
Well, I think to see what he did with this handball game way back when to win them a flag, to get this same group to go again and get to another grand final was big. And I think they're regenerating on the run. And they're being critiqued like they should be winning flags whilst they're regenerating. That's my view of their list. We disagree on components of that, but you would have to say at this point, halfway point last year, you thought they weren't going to make the 8.
No.
And I said, no, I think they'll make the 8. They'll come good. He always finds a way. I think he's a great motivator. How do they play it? Well, it's on performance, isn't it? I think they wait. There's no hurry to necessarily sign him. I think he polarises their own supporter base. So I just said a wait and see. I mean, if he makes finals again this year, is that enough?
Yeah.
I would say it was, or would be enough.
So you would wait.
I understand the opposing view.
You would wait until that point, though, because it's just unusual. The reason it's unusual that clubs allow coaches to come out of contract completely. Like usually there would be a contract in place for a master coach, if that's the way you see it, or a premiership coach. Right now, last time there was, like 15th of December 2022, that contract was signed. So clearly they're not as confident.
That would have been only 18 months, 12 months after making a grand final. Like you would think that that's a logical re-signing, wouldn't you?
Even though the result of the grand final was as bad as it was?
Well, you're talking about one given game. I think that's a... Yeah, I can understand the opposing view, but I don't necessarily see it that way. I'm going to stay with this same club.
Okay.
Because this is a deeper question again. And add the question marks over the coaching and whether it's going to be Bevo going forward or not. Marcus Bontempelli is a free agent at the end of this season. He's won 6 best and fairest. He's a 6-time All-Australian. He's just seen what's happened with Jamara. He saw what happened with Bailey Smith last year. He's seen some of his long-time teammates in McRae and Caleb Daniel be moved on last year. There's nothing more that this guy's chasing but premierships. He's already won the one. He's done it all in the game. It's not a financial discussion or a decision to be made at the end of this year. He'll be well paid wherever he is.
All-Australian captain.
What if he says no? What if he says I'm off? It'd be the biggest move we've seen. It'd be the biggest decision for one player that we've seen for probably 30 years. I mean, Dangerfield was big, but he was essentially coming home. If Bont didn't see this group winning another premiership, maybe he says, you know what, it's been great. We've been terrific for each other. I know he loves the club, and I know the Dogs fans will say, but he's, he bleeds red, white, and blue. But the decision's still there to be made. He hasn't signed.
Yeah.
And if it's halfway through the season and all these other things that you just mentioned with Bevo are surfacing and bubbling, and it looks like another year's gone, what if he says no?
I hope he doesn't.
What if he does?
Well, chaos, carnage. The absolute carnage. And then it just hasn't felt like a happy group to me. There's always something happening. There's always a Jamara, or there's always a Dunkley, or there's always a Bailey Smith, or there's always, and every club has distractions. I get that. But it just feels like year after year after year, they can't get a clean run at it. And I don't know what that reason is. I don't know why, because everyone says that the players love Luke Beveridge. So it must be bigger than that and a cultural issue there. But I just hope he does. He's the greatest Bulldog of all time. And I want to see the greatest Bulldog of all time finish his career being cheered off as the greatest Bulldog of all time. But maybe I need
do, right?
Yeah, so maybe that's not the way young players think now. Like they all follow the American sports, and LeBron James, whoever, Kevin Durant just packs his bag straight away and goes. Doesn't matter. There's very few Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, even he left at the end, that stay with their own team. No, it doesn't damage anything.
It doesn't damage the fact that he still could be the greatest Bulldog of all time if he finishes somewhere else.
And he still will be, but I think the fact that he is the greatest Bulldog of all time, I want him walking off in his last game as a Bulldog. That's just me. But
he would be only playing for premierships now, though, wouldn't he?
Yep.
I mean, that's the only motivation.
And to be fair to him, that's the only way he's played himself for the last 3 years. We want you forward, Bont. Yep, no worries. I won't have 30 this week. I'll have 18 and kick 3. Oh, Bont, we want you to go put your head in the hole when we need to when the game's on the line. But he's done whatever the team has asked of him to win. He is one of the most selfless players in the game. So there's nothing more that he can do.
So some are saying, well, what about Ablett? Ablett leaving the Cats to go to a new franchise. To me, that's different. To me, that's just that was on the back of...
We could see it. Well, that was on the cards. I mean, Franklin leaving...
The money was obscene.
Yeah. It would be in the Franklin realm. Yeah. Well, that was...
And I'm also thinking of let's just say you're at... who would be chasing him, right? It'd be a big, powerful club that's close to him. Yeah. Let's just... Everyone throws Collingwood, but just say it's Carlton. Wherever he goes, if he were to leave, right, let's just play the game for a minute. If he were to choose a Carlton, they'd be premiership favourites. Imagine having Bont and Cripps in the same midfield. Imagine having Dacos and Bont. Wherever he goes would become the nominal premiership favourite.
Geez, I love the way Hawthorn are going about it. I might go there. Like they can get it. Or I might go completely change the fortunes of the Bombers. The Bombers haven't had I'm going to change that. You know,
he's trying to win a premiership. He's not leaving the Dogs.
But imagine if he went to Essendon and the margins are small and won a premiership at the bottom. I don't know what it is. We're just speculating. But
so we just got to wait. I mean, this is going to be tracked heavily. It's the biggest signature in footy right now that's waiting. Does he sign mid-year? Does he hold out? As the weeks tick on, we will monitor this.
Whilst you're on a roll, roll into your next one because mine's a little bit facetious at the end.
Yours is it? Just watching finals, everyone says, we steal everything from America. It's not necessarily about America or any other sport, but do we really need to have still in our final system? We get the chance, I think, when Tassie come in to look at the finals and how many teams are in it. Are we doing wild cards? Do you need to have the double chance? Why do we have a double chance in finals? I like the old system where it was first versus eighth, second versus seventh, third versus sixth. And if first can't beat eighth, well, so be it. That's
But
you're at home.
Hang on. We've seen you fight and scrap for 23 weeks or even longer now, from March 6th right through until the end of to get yourself a top four spot.
I get it, yeah.
Aren't we diminishing the reward for the home and away season?
Why are we rewarding fourth?
Well, it's a pretty good effort out of 18.
Oh,
to
well
finish
done.
fourth.
Look, a great effort.
Yeah, well, but
Mate,
what's the point of going 23 weeks just to fight and scrap and get yourself
finish
a second
higher?
chance at home?
No, you get the poorer ranked opponent in the final. First versus eighth, second versus seventh. If you finish fifth, you're going to play the fourth best team. You don't want to be doing that. You want to be finishing second or first and playing the lowest ranked or the easier
I wasn't
run.
expecting you to go. I think it's outrageous.
I just think there's an opportunity.
We reward the home and away form enough. I think there should be more rewards.
Enough.
Don't worry about the
Like what?
Scrap the bye, scrap the pre-finals bye, so that not everyone gets the break. So that then, if you do win that first final, you get actually rewarded with a week off and you're fresh. Things like that.
I just don't understand losing a final and still rolling.
Because well, what if you
Now that I'm looking at other codes, it just doesn't make sense to me.
What do your mates do with your favourite sport in the NRL? That boring.
Well, they copy us. They just
boring
copy us.
Sport where they just
in 3 years' time, they just copy us.
just run at each other 10 times and then.
Oh, here we go. Well, you're reading Mamma Mia. You're listening to Mamma Mia podcasts and having a go at me about the NRL. Who needs a correction? Mamma Mia, Mr. Mamma Mia over here, or myself?
On a scale of 1 to Jared Pollock, how much are Richmond regretting signing Noah Balta for 7 years right now? Like, is it a 9? Like, are we at Brodie Grundy levels at Collingwood, or are we at 10 North Melbourne Jared Pollock style, or where are we at on the scale?
You know,
Kingy.
this long-term contract thing has really warped your mind.
When are they going to learn to the point where Noah Balta of all people are getting 7 years, and he's now missing the first 4 weeks of the season. He's pled.
Well, they've got a bit of money to spend.
He's pled guilty. Well, the money's fine. I don't care about pay him whatever.
But they get to pull it forward with a long-term contract.
Just pay him $2 million a year. I don't care if the money's there. Pay him, but give him $2
No, but they might be on normal wage, but with a long-term deal, you get to stack it at the front and pay it while they're getting all these draft picks.
To the
That's
point
why
where
they
you've
do it.
still got a player on your list in 2031 who's probably not going to be worthy of getting a spot anyway. I just thought, because he pled guilty yesterday and people were saying, hold your horses, we've got to find out what happened with this incident. Well, he's pled guilty. He's missing the first 4 weeks of the season, club imposed ban, and you've got him on your books for another 7 years. Good.
What do you want to do with him? What do you want to do?
decision.
What punishment do you want for
No,
Noah
I'm happy
Balta?
with the punishment. But in real time, the contract was ridiculous. And after the fact, it is even more crazy. And
I'm going to get a recruiter on or a list manager on next couple of weeks.
Please.
And you can have because you've got to understand the massaging of
but
money.
I've spoken to your man Longmire about it. He said, look, until the AFL...
Of course, they're not going to give you any answers while he's in the job.
He gave me a great answer.
That's boring, John.
He gave me a great answer. He said, we have to do it because everyone's doing it. And until the AFL come in and stamp it out, it's going to continue happening. So...
We'll get Honest John in now, and he'll tell us the truth.
Get me a list manager. Get me.
right.
Who's your favourite? I kind of like like a Nick
Who do you
Austin
like?
type from Carlton. He just sort of
Well,
goes
they've
about
been
his
massaging
business.
some
Yeah,
cash around.
100%.
He's not going to tell us. He's thinking, geez,
they
how am I
just-
going
they
to
just-
get to coning under all this?
I want to ask him why he thought it was a good idea to sign Adam Chera for 5 years when his hamstrings
See?
don't.
Why would
stay
he come on?
together for
Another
10
one who
weeks.
won't come on and give him a drive-by, and he wasn't even part of our run sheet.
It's just a couple other clubs you've been out to.
I went to the Hawks. Gee, it looks powerful, the Hawks.
Yeah, you said the difference between this time last year and now. The
Yeah.
contrast was significant.
And just so many different pieces they can use now. With Battle, I think Battle's going to be a star for them. Battle and Barras allows them so much flexibility. It sounds like Mitch is going to start with Sicily down back. Many people thinking he'll throw him forward, but Hardwick's the one, obviously, that he's desperate to play more as a permanent forward. He had that opportunity in patches last year. Gee, they're just well serviced everywhere. The heat for positions it's going to get really tight. You know, when you're trying to squeeze 30 into 23, and Your man Watson lit it up the day I was there. He was high up the field. He was almost that sort of extra midfielder.
You were there the day he took that screamer, weren't you?
Yeah, I didn't see the screamer. I was actually typing. Typing something on my phone.
I spoke to Josh Gablich about this. Now he didn't mention any names.
Oh, it sounds like he did.
But I
Who
know
else to speak to then?
know that you two often stand together and watch together now. So I just assumed it was you. So you missed the screamer.
But it was a good mark. It wasn't out of control.
I thought for 170 centimetres small.
It was an intra-club hanger, one of those just intra-club hangers.
Oh, you lost your mind.
Not big.
Hang on.
Not big.
You lost your mind a couple of years ago when my man the Hornets stood on someone's head in pre-season.
He didn't.
You were gushing on social media.
He stepped out of traffic.
You were
he did what he did. I didn't realise he was going to cry and go home at that stage.
Are you going to say anything nice about him this year? Or
Yeah, mate, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we'll go through in depth a few of the other clubs on Monday, but just with our.
Where do you have? So I want to get a feel. Not don't have to lock them in, right?
No.
We're not getting involved in that in January or early Feb, right?
Too early.
But you've got to have like what's the
brackets?
What is the potential? Everyone's going to talk about Hawthorn and how quickly this has happened. And do you see a year of a holding year, or do you see regression or a slight regression or a holding year this year for Hawks, given the such a spike over the last 18 months?
No, I'm a bit more confident than that. So I don't know where that sits them. Somewhere between 1 and 6, but I think they can. I think they're good enough to win it. I'm not saying they will. I just think I think they're good enough. And
are you doing a ladder this year for SEN, or are you going to do that thing you did last year where you auctioned off? You auctioned off your top 8.
Jared
to the highest bidder.
Imparted some great wisdom on me a few years ago, Reece.
Jared Waitley.
Yeah, try and avoid doing pre-season predictions. So if you look, Jared doesn't.
You did hold me to it last year, didn't you?
Jared, yeah, that
didn't last. That advice.
Nah, like ladder predictions. In terms of your top 8s and all of that. Steer clear, because no one remembers when you get it right. Yeah,
the week of round 1, you will be doing a ladder predictor for us.
Will I?
Yeah, we'll both be doing one. Both be doing our top 8.
And what else we're going to do this year? Because I've got some thoughts on the quiz, which I think we can really go to the next level. But the other segments, are they all back? Is In the Gun back?
In the Gun, we like In the Gun.
In the Gun will be back on a Friday.
We're going to do something that we set up on a Friday that we review on the Monday. So a little get people involved as well. We might see if we can get some prizes for people that nominate things pre-weekend that come through on the weekend.
All right, In the Gun's back. Friday First Thoughts will be back, the agenda, and we just got to workshop a few things for Monday. So if you've got any segment ideas, 043390 at 1116 for a Monday.
Jesse reckons that would have been Mark of the Year in any of the last 10 years.
That's a hot take.
That's
prone to a week-to-week overreaction.
Whiz.